Hello, mamas. Welcome to Tired as a Mother, the realistic guide on sleep training your baby successfully. So let's begin. Are you ready? Module 1 is all about sleep is taught. Let me repeat that. Sleep is taught, mamas. Yes, your baby comes out of the womb and they will fall asleep on their own. But the typical newborn doesn't know when night is and doesn't know when day is. So you need to teach them the right schedule of when to be awake and when to be asleep. So this is something that is taught. If you are teaching your baby the wrong curriculum, they in turn will not be an A+ sleeper. An independent sleeper is the key to success for both baby and parent. So let's go over a couple things of do you or have you done any of the following? These are all different ways where we teach our baby that sleep isn't taught. These are things that I would suggest not doing, and I will give you my opinion of why I believe they hinder your baby from becoming an independent sleeper. Rocking your baby until they fall asleep and then laying them down and quietly sneaking out of the room. This lets your baby not fall asleep on their own. They need you to rock them to sleep. They need that comfort of you holding them. And it doesn't help them learn to, when they're in their crib with their blanket or swaddles or whatever it is, the cue to fall asleep. It also is very startling to a baby that when they fall asleep in their mother's arms or father's arms, and then wake up in their crib, it's very startling to wake up in a different spot. Whereas if they're put in their crib while they are still awake but drowsy, they wake up and they are still in the same spot. Okay, do you or have you done run into the room the second your baby makes any peep or noise? This is a big no-no. We all wake up during the night. You wake up, you readjust, and you go back to sleep. Well, a baby might wake up and cry because this is their way of talking. They don't speak yet. So let your baby figure it out. Give them at least 10 to 15 minutes of readjusting before you go in there. Do not run in as soon as the baby makes a noise. Have another one, have the monitor turned up so loud that it could wake your neighbors. I am a big monitor hater. I feel monitors should be used for naps and not for at nighttime unless you live in a mansion and you are miles away from your baby. But in a normal house and as a normal mom, you will wake up probably the second you hear your baby make a peep. And you don't need that blaring in your ear when they just make some quiet nighttime noises. That is normal. So if you are going to use a monitor, we go deeper into a different module where we talk about monitors, and I'll suggest some different uses. Co-sleeping. I do not believe in co-sleeping. I believe that your baby does not get good restful sleep because when they wake up and you are there, they possibly want to eat before it's time to eat, because why not? Or want to play in the middle of the night and it's not time to play at 2 in the morning. If they're in their crib and by themselves, they are more prone to just put themselves back to sleep. I also believe that it gives the parent really bad sleep. I don't know about you, but my kids turned in circles basically when they slept. That's why they need a crib that keeps them in. And it was just very unsettling where they're always moving and kicking, and I just don't believe it gives me a good night's sleep or my husband. And it also interrupts the relationship that I do have with my husband, or whoever your partner is. You need that time alone at night. It shouldn't be all about the baby. You do have to take care of that relationship first, the parental relationship. So next one, set an alarm for every 3 hours to get up and feed the baby. I don't know if anyone does do this, but don't do this. Let your baby sleep in the night, and if they wake up, feed them. If they sleep 5 hours, feed them when they wake up after 5 hours. They do not need to wake up necessarily during the night every 3 hours, as long as they are getting enough to eat during the day. Change the diaper every time you feed at night. This one I'm obsessed about. Please don't change a wet diaper in the middle of the night. This just stimulates your baby. It gets them cold. It wakes them up. Usually you have to maybe have a light on. So if you smell it or hear it, you should change it. But otherwise, leave it alone until morning. That is what diapers are made for. Here is a good quote from a sleep lab director at the Hospital for Sick Children. Sleep is a learned behavior, like talking. And since the plasticity of the brain is greatest at infancy, infants can be more easily taught to fall asleep by themselves than older children can. I read a statistic that by the time a child is 18 months old, they have their sleep patterns already ingrained in them. So if you are doing this class and your child is older, I'm not saying that there's no hope, but it is going to be harder to retrain them to become an independent sleeper. It is best to start out when they are young. So let's talk a little bit about how much sleep a baby needs. And I think this really helps get our adult brain around that they really do need a lot of sleep. Newborn to 6 months needs 14 hours out of the 24 hours in the day. That's a lot. 10 to 11 at night. Now, this doesn't mean that they don't wake up and eat during those times, during those newborn days. And up to 6 months, they definitely do wake up, usually every 3 hours, and eat. But my children, they were fast eaters, which I was fortunate. They would wake up every 3 hours, and then it would get stretched to 4 and then to 5. And they would literally eat and fall right back to sleep. So basically, they were hardly even awake. They were mostly just eating drowsy. Then they also need those naps during the day. Let's not forget about naps. Newborn to 6 months, it's 3 to 4 naps throughout the day. And those are 3 to 4 hour stretches. Okay, 6 months to 12 months, we're still at 13 to 14 hours out of the 24. So it's like losing 1 hour basically, and still the 10 to 11 at night. This is when you transfer to 1 to 2 naps usually during the day. Sometimes they need one in the morning, and then a lot of times it's that typical after lunchtime nap to get them so that they're not a monster by 5 o'clock. 12 to 24 months, 12 to 13 hours out of the 24. Still the 10 to 11 at night. So we're still sleeping long stretches at night. At this point, even at the 6 to 12 months, you should not be getting up every 3 hours to eat. You should be able to eat and then sleep those 10 hours without getting up and needing to eat. This is also during the teething time. So sometimes there is definitely some rough patches during this. Even when you get out of the newborn stage, you will get to teething, and that can wake them up, and that can make sleep a little bit more difficult. But still those long stretches at night. Parents need to realize babies should not go to bed at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night and then have to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning because they need to get off to daycare. If you are a working mom and they are out of the house, they really need to be going to bed really a lot earlier, which is hard because that can give us a lot less time with them when we are a working parent. And then we have the guilt of that. But they need those hours of sleep. Okay, so at you as an adult, how much do you need, mamas? We need 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. So I want you to think about how much sleep you are getting. And yes, if you have a newborn or a young baby, you are getting interrupted sleep, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't still try and get those at least 7 hours. It might not be in one stretch. You know, you might get 3 hours and then you wake up and you get another 3 or 4. But this is where we need to look at our schedules and realize we also need to start going to bed earlier if we are a working parent and are having to get up and get out the door to work the next day. Okay, so one thing that helps with this sleep is taught is eat, play, sleep. This is the golden routine to teach your newborn, and this is going to get them in the schedule that eating isn't putting them to sleep. Newborns definitely want to eat and then just snuggle into mama and fall asleep. I'm not saying this never happens, but the goal is to feed them, whether it's bottle or nursing, keep them awake, play with them. This is a good time to undress them, maybe get them changed in something else, to change their diaper after you feed them, to do a little bit of tummy time, read a book, and then they get wrapped back up, swaddled back up, and laid down to fall asleep on their own. So eat, play, sleep. I put it in neon lettering as a bold reminder of this is what you strive for. Again, newborn days are hard and difficult, and of course they are going to fall asleep in your arms. And I'm not saying you shouldn't hold your baby and snuggle them, but especially that nighttime sleep, they need to get used to being put in their crib, drowsy, and falling asleep on their own. So this is going to wrap up today's module. In today's assignment, I want you to grab a notebook, and this is going to be your sleep notebook. And I want you to write down some of your goals. What are the goal hours of sleep for your baby? And what are the goal hours of sleep for you? Now you need to identify some bad habits that you are allowing that are going to hinder these goals. Are you staying up way too late? Or are you getting up way too early? Are you sleeping in too long where you're not getting some of your stuff done? This is going to be different for everyone. So look at your goals and then look at the habits that are hindering some of these goals. And lastly, again, look back at what you wrote for your goals and how can you accomplish these. If you are only getting 4 hours of sleep at night, how can you get to at least, let's say, 6 hours? That's better than 4. How can you get to that? Do you need to go to bed earlier? When you put your baby down at 7 o'clock, maybe you go to bed at 7 too. You're going to have a better immune system. You're going to be better mentally. You're going to be a better mom if you are getting more sleep, even if that means you're leaving some of the stuff to do the next day. Because I know us mamas, we stay up late, usually just to accomplish the tasks that we didn't get done during the day. So lastly, if you are taking this course in the act of desperation, I really do pray that it paves a way for you and your family to get more sleep. Until next time, mamas.